Hello, beautiful souls. I am Valeria Maritza at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. Today, I want to talk to you about being fearless. Fearless in every sense of the word. We as humans have been conditioned for so long that we are these little separate beings without power, without magic, without anything. And that we need, and I put this in quotes, that we need others, other people, other beings, other anything that's not us, in order for us to be able to move forward and succeed. The indoctrination starts when you are going to school. And as a child, I worked as a teacher, as an art teacher, for 15 years, teaching students from kindergarten through eighth grade. And I saw this happen in my own classrooms because I got to see the kids in every single year, which I loved. um, and I got to see the creativity diminish instead of expand as the years went by. And this had nothing to do with my classroom or what was going on in the art room. It had to do with their own beliefs and what was going on around them. So this is what happens to us. We are taught that the creativity that we have inside isn't worth anything. A child who doesn't like to read or sit still is labeled as all kinds of things, right? We have all kinds of letters to label all our students, ADHD and whatever it is, right? And the children, our children, are made wrong for being themselves. They're being made wrong for wanting to move, for wanting to speak out, for um, expressing themselves. So, our job as parents and as teachers and as adults is really to nurture the creativity in the child and allow them to be themselves, and also at the same time teach them what is a good way of expressing themselves. So, as with love, with compassion, with empathy, right? Teach the children these big ways of being so they can continue to be themselves and at the same time um, not hurt others or not feel like as if they're this invincible god or goddess that can also hurt others, because the goal here is to get in tune and never forget who you are, your infinite being of light, but at the same time not to be able to not to be able to use this knowledge to hurt others, because that defeats the whole purpose, right? And this is what we see. This is what we see in the world. We see this on video games, we see this on TV, on the news, on the movies and the shows that we're watching. You're always seeing the bad guy hurting the good guy, and then the good guy needing to defend themselves with more violence. This is what is being taught. We're being taught to do these things, to act this way, to defend yourself, to stand up for yourself. But what we're not being taught is to see the other person with love and compassion and empathy. Because we are all light beings of light. Light beings of light? Yes. Infinite beings of light. And what that means is that we are connected to the divine. We are the divine. We are just learning that we're not. We're learning that we are separate. So the divine is pure love. The divine is pure, true love. If you had near death experience, or if you crossed over, right? Once your soul leaves your body, you immediately realize and understand the whole grandness of you. You understand how everything works. You understand and feel true love because you are in that pure form of yourself, of your energy, of your infinite being of light, which is all pure love. Once you're in your body, we have fears, the fears that feed upon your ego, your consciousness, that you need to be violent, or you need to defend yourself, or you need to stand up for yourself at the same time as you're pushing others down. All of these things are ego based, that says protect yourself at the cost of everything and everyone else. Where in fact, the universe is infinite and abundant. And you understand this once you cross over. This has been shown to me in many different ways, many different times, in many different readings, and also through studies of other channelers and other healers who have also been shown this information. So once you are detached from your body and you're able to see yourself and others as that pure light that they are, then you're able to see everything and everyone with love, compassion, and empathy. This is what's missing. Then many people who have had this near death experiences come back and they completely change, because now they have this understanding of how it really works. And so now they're able to share love, to share their knowledge, to be more empathetic towards others, and to be able to see even those who are still very, very much rooted in their ego and hurting others or being selfish and exposing others to benefit themselves. They're able to see these people as what it is, which is a journey in this life to learn in order to expand their own souls. They're able to see it this way. It's not to say that what they're doing is right. It's not to say that it is okay to hurt others. It's just to say that you're able to understand it and see it with love and compassion. And this is key, because when we are able to see someone else to the core, then that person feels that. They feel being seen, and they connect to their own higher being. So, you ever seen someone who is like really angry or hurt, and they're just very destructive in their behaviors, and they're destroying everything around them, their families, their homes. They're just not living a good life in harmony. And then someone comes along and looks at them, like looks through them into their soul, and they realize this, and then they just melt. They just melt, because they are finally connected with their own higher being. This is how you, us, everyone can help others. So it's not to say what you're doing to someone who's being very destructive is correct or is good. Not at all. It's just being able to see them for who they are, where they are, what lessons they're learning, see through them, through that mask or that role that they're playing in this world, and then being able to see their true infinite light inside. You doing that, you send that connection, that energy to their core, and then they're able to see themselves again. They're able to connect again, and many of them begin to change and to begin to change their ways and get things working for them better and stop hurting others. It happens all the time. This is how you can help. But the creativity part that I started out of this podcast today, that is lost in children, it is lost. And I've seen this because schools are so much into follow the rules, and the rules are be quiet, sit down, do your work, and get good grades, pretty much, right? That has no creativity whatsoever. Sitting down, listening to something, having to memorize it and learn it, and then shoot it back like a computer, without feelings, without thoughts, without expressing themselves, that kills the creativity. And then when children veer away from that, when they want to move around, when they want to draw on their tests or on their textbooks, when they're coloring things when they don't need to do it, and the teacher or the adult is telling them that that's a waste of time or that is not good, then that child begins to question themselves and their own creativity, and then they begin to become fearful, right? So I started this whole podcast about fear, right? They become fearful of expressing themselves because they have been made wrong about it. And children are quite resilient. Children, something happens and they bounce right back, and something happens and they bounce right back, and they forgive quite quickly, like animals, right? Like that pure, beautiful innocence of an animal that is just like loving you no matter what, right? Unconditional love. Children are the same, but they begin to lose this the more that the rules that do not apply to them, and they really don't apply to most people, um, are repeated in different places. So what does that mean? The peers, right? Peer pressure of telling them to behave the way that the adult is telling them. Different teachers, different adults in their lives repeating the same thing. It could be the adults in their home, adults at camp, adults at their religious service area, adults at the school, right? Adults when you go shopping. They're all reinforcing the same rule. And so the child begins to believe that those are the rules and that there must be something wrong with them for wanting to be different, for wanting to move, for wanting to express themselves, right? And that's where the detachment begins. And so, what I was teaching students from kindergarten through eighth grade, I saw a burst of creativity all the way up to about age 8. And at age 8, I would see a decline in about a third of the class. And these were the kids that were more sensitive to what was going on around them in terms of wanting to please the adults. And so those children who were really like, they had like stricter families at home, follow the rules, get good grades, do the right thing, all of that stuff, they were kind of fearful as to like exploring their own creativity and allowing themselves to feel and be. And you know what that does? It paralyzes them. As adults, we're paralyzed now too, because we carry this fear that we got as children. If you are one of those overachiever, you are one of these overachiever children who's always getting good grades and really working hard and not doing anything wrong in order to please everything because you had to be right. And you got praise for being right. And then you believed that that was it. So then you might be an adult right now who, if you don't do things exactly right, which no one can do, so you have to do it all by yourself, and then you're putting more pressure on you, then you're never going to be satisfied. And it's all coming from childhood. It's all coming from what you believed was the right way of being, from what you believed was what was going to get you praise, and praise as a child equals love and acceptance. Okay, so you have a lot of adults right now who are like this, who are working themselves to death, working extra, doing so much for everyone, letting themselves depleted of energy, of anything, because they're not receiving anything. They're just working, 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 giving, 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 going, 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 and there's no one coming to the rescue. And why is that? It's because others have gathered different information as a child, right? Anyway, I was telling you in third grade, about a third of my classes of third graders were like that, quarter to a third, and depending on the class. And I would notice this. Now, third graders are amazing beings. They are 8 years old, mostly 8 to 9, and they know a lot. They are very capable. They have learned a lot. They're quite creative. But some of them get their light shut off when they realize that praise for doing the things as others want them to is the right way of being. Then, when you go into fourth grade, that drastically changes to about half. 40 to 50% of the students begin to shut down. And it's like it's not coming from from feeling like they're not good enough in art. I'm just looking at it from the art perspective, from the art teacher perspective. It's not that anything changed in my classroom for them. It's what they began to believe about themselves. And it's kind of like walking on eggshells of not wanting to do anything wrong. And even though they are in an environment where there's a lot of space to be creative, a lot of room to move around and do and be who they want to be, the conditioning of everything else around them does not allow them to do it. And what that does is it freezes them in the tracks, which means they cannot move, they cannot perform, they cannot do. Why? Because they're so confused. And the confusion comes from the desire inside of wanting to be and wanting to express and wanting to just do whatever. And the thoughts in their head that are saying, this is wrong. If you don't have step by step follow or color by numbers, sort of speak things to follow the rules, then you cannot do it. And this is where the creativity begins to diminish. By the time students get to finish high school, there's barely anything left. Kids leaving college is very, very, very low. The percentage of people who are graduating college and still have that connection to their creativity. And those are the people who are talented, who have loved art, and that have continued. And when I say art, I don't mean just visual arts. I mean any type of art, right? It could be music, it could be poetry, it could be writing, right? There's people who are like really, really talented in that, who had never stopped being creative because the rules and the conditionings of those around them didn't matter, because they were just so much connected and so much in the zone creating their own thing that it didn't matter what people said because it didn't make sense to them, right? I'm talking about everybody else. And so like that small percentage of people who are able to graduate like that from college and still have that creativity, those are the ones who go on and become successful in their fields. Those are the ones who are able to be more grounded. These are also your hippies or your yoga classmates, or the people who are more open to the creativity and what else is out there, and it's not just about the textbook and the book, right? And I'm not saying that other people do not succeed. They do indeed. What I'm saying is the creativity is not there. And the creativity is the joy of life. Once you are allowed, or once you allowed yourself to be creative, once you allow yourself to connect with that inner part of you, to be creative, to express yourself, to be you, essentially, then you have joy, because you get lost in being you. You're having so much fun just being you, right? And you're not listening or being constricted by the rules of others, right? That's where the joy comes in. Other people can be quite successful in their jobs by following the rules, but they are not happy. And even the ones that may seem happy because they're quite successful or making lots of money, they still aren't, and they're very stressed because they're still thinking of themselves as not being good enough. I've done this much. I have perhaps millions of dollars in the bank account. I have everything that I ever wanted to. However, am I still following the rules? What else? What other rules do I need to do? What other piece of paper do I need on my wall to prove that I am qualified? Oh my gosh. And this is, I can do a whole podcast on this one about getting validation for what you know by having that diploma on your wall, right? By having earned this. That's such a linear way. And it has served us, it has served humanity for so many years. It's no longer the only way to go. And it is not the best way to go even, right? How many people have diploma after diploma, degree after degree, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, student loan debts, and they're barely making enough money to do the things that they dreamed of doing because they have this huge debt, right? I had personally many teacher friends who are teaching full time, held a second job just so that they can pay their student debt that got them there. What kind of life is that? It's not, right? It's not the joyful life that we were promised by following the rules. And a lot of people are waking up and realizing this, that, hey, what I have been taught all of this time, follow the rules and do these things, actually isn't the way, right? Okay. I went in a couple of different directions here. A lot of messages were coming through. Let me know how this feels for you. Please rate the show, share it with your friends, anyone that you think might really um, love to hear these messages. And I will see you next time. I love you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.